Speech Pitch by ISCA-SAC.
Hello, I'm Guanyu, a PhD student based in Sheffield, a podcast volunteer at the ISCA-SAC. I'm also a member of the UK Speech Local Committee. So this year, UK Speech is going to take place in Sheffield from 14th June to 15th June. Today is Friday, the 9th of June. We are entering the last preparation stage. I have Dr Anton Ragni, the chair of the UK Speech Committee, with me now. What is UK Speech? What is it like to organize a national conference like this? What can you expect from this year's conference? Let's have a chat with Anton and see what he says. Good morning, Anton. Thank you for taking time for the interview.
Good morning, Guanyu. It's my pleasure.
So, how would you introduce UK Speech to someone new in the speech field?
I think it might be worth, mentioning a historic aspect of UK Speech. I think at some point it was a Young Speech Researchers Day, and I think it was held in London or somewhere central in the UK, and I think at some point along the road it was morphed into something that is currently called UK Speech. So perhaps for someone new that might not be very relevant, but perhaps the best summary of this event is that this is the biggest gathering of anyone working on speech in the United Kingdom. And given how many are famous groups in the United Kingdom, this is quite a big event. So you should never miss it.
So you've been in the speech field for a long time. Have you attended the previous UK Speech in the past few years?
I haven't been to the previous one, or probably a couple before that, due to various reasons linked to the project evaluations. So the one I remember a lot was the event held at the University of East Anglia.
Okay.
So that was a quite memorable event. I think the location was somewhere in the forest, and that was very surprising.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds very enjoyable. So this year, you are the chair of the local organization committee. Is it your first time being the chair of the organization committee?
Probably for an event of this magnitude, yes. I've organized smaller events, but something like what we will be hosting next week, I think that's for the first time.
Okay. When you talk about the scale of the UK Speech, how big is it?
We were thinking that we might get about 150 delegates.
Wow.
And that was the situation up to the registration deadline. And given that we're trying to be inclusive this year, given that we have a very limitation in terms of our ability to host people, we are holding the event this year in the Wave building that can host up to 400 people. We kept the registration open over the weekend, and we received 40 more registrations. So we're talking about 170 plus people coming this year.
That is so big, yeah.
It is indeed.
So to prepare for such a big event, how was the preparation period for you?
Preparation period was quite interesting. It was great to have amazing support from the admin team and from the local student organizers.
Have you enjoyed your role so far?
I think it was quite an interesting experience. There was a lot of more interaction than I expected, but not significantly more. So it was more or less of what I was expecting. So very good dynamics, very good activity from local committee. So that was a very pleasure to be a part of.
Oh, thank you. As you mentioned, there are many PhD student volunteers on the local committee. Can I ask, is it a tradition of the UK Speech, or is it something new?
I think based on the events I was a part of, I think it has then been, at least in my world, it has been traditionally organized by students. In some cases, these events were led by students, so without any senior personnel playing the role of the local chair. So yes, it has been organized mostly by students, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. You said you have enjoyed working with student volunteers so far. Could you give us a couple of examples? Any surprise or?
I think one of the most surprising, well, in some sense you can say that this is a consequence of that, is that if there is a lot of freedom available to a local committee, then a local committee can come up with a lot of surprising ideas. You never thought about that. So this year, for example, we will have a quiz that will take part during the social event, and I think that will bring a little bit more interaction than you would have if this was, for example, a formal banquet. We also will have a best poster competition for students, so that's I don't think that has ever been a part of UK Speech, and a lot of other surprises that I will keep secret.
Secret. Okay, so the participants need to find out later next week.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It sounds very interactive in general. So the conference is going to start next week, and you just mentioned we got more than 160 participants on record so far. So what can people expect from this year's conference, in your opinion?
So I think there will be a lot of good keynotes this year. I guess every committee would say so, but I think we will feature topics that are quite important to make speech inclusive and available to more people than perhaps it currently is. We've received a large number of submissions, so more than 100 submissions. I think that's a quite large number of submissions for an event like UK Speech, and the quality of submission is high, which is quite nice, and so you could expect a very strong technical program. And again, given the history of the United Kingdom in this specific area, you would expect a very strong program.
Okay, that's lovely to know. Yeah, you just mentioned about the speech in the United Kingdom. Can I ask, is the speech research in this country different from speech researches in some other countries, in your knowledge?
I think it's rather interesting that that there are so many speech groups in the United Kingdom. So I guess there was something in this phenomenon that we are so curious about speech that found so much interest in the UK. So I think that's quite different from other bigger countries, smaller countries. So if you would divide the number of perhaps world famous speech groups by the population, UK perhaps will have the highest ratio.
Okay. Yeah, so would you say the keyword is diversity then?
I would say so, yeah.
Cool. So my last question for you is, do you have any advice for participants? For example, how to make the most out of the event?
We have an amazing abstract book that not only looks nice, but also contains quite a lot of helpful information for you to sift through, find the papers that you might be interested in hearing to, and interact more. There will be a lot of amazing people taking part in the UK Speech, and so you should come to them, talk to them, learn from them, and I think that's the best recipe.
That's good to know. Yeah, so stay open, stay curious.
Absolutely.
Cool. Thank you so much, Anton. It is going to be a great event, I believe.
It will.
You will. So let's wait to meet our participants next week in Sheffield.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Speech Pitch by ISCA-SAC.